There we go. We're live. What is up, everybody? Good morning to some of you. Good afternoon to others. T-Dub still hasn't woken up yet, but another weird starting time for the UVA basketball team. Welcome to Locker Room Access. I'm Hav. I got my man Josh and Dougie Fresh. Taking on the Louisville Cardinals, 6-1 in the ACC, 13-5 overall. A very good team. Second place in the ACC. Guys, what is up? We're going to get into all of it. We're going to recap SMU game, which was brutal. We're going to talk about what I am calling the Golden Corral buffet of issues that we have. And then we're going to jump into a little bit of a preview for Louisville. So how's everybody doing?
Josh?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
JB, I'm good, man. Up and at 'em. Got up, made the coffee, had a little breakfast. I did something amazing. If you can see this is our NIT 1992 championship watch. It's been in Brazil on sabbatical. I got it. Obviously wasn't working. Took it across the street. $6 to fix. How about that?
Pretty good.
Portuguese lady. The V, the standard, as Maurice Watkins calls it, Grimm, are Rolex of watches in 1993. Yes. I think athletes all got these in your senior year, our fourth year, and so this is just going to be memorabilia because it's all rusted out. Supposedly, I challenged that. She was just trying to charge me too much, and I gave up and I got bored. So those are cool
interesting, and a lot of people don't know this, but if you win the NIT, you get a solid gold watch, which is what that is. That's 100% solid gold. It's not copper that they painted to look like gold, but just kidding.
Right.
All right, let's get into it, boys. We're going to start with SMU. A lot to like in this game, except for the ending. Let's start with the positive. We're going to start with Blake Buchanan, who showed up like it was the game after his Florida game freshman year. But, in this time where things are not rosy in Charlottesville, let's start with some positive stuff. Universally, everyone realizes Blake had a really good game, so active on the boards, a lot of spirit, a lot of energy. It was great to see because he was catching some heat and actually lost his spot for a while. It'll be interesting to see. But Josh, talk a little bit about Blake and what you saw and what was, what do you think he did differently in this game versus other games?
I thought it looked like a complete different mindset from him. It looked to me at least 3 or 4 times over, he was attacking, flashing right down the middle of the lane and going in for either the dunk or, getting fouled, trying to make something happen. And then from there, once he got himself going, it kind of built some confidence just overall across the court. Like, he threw a lob from the top of the key. I mean, how often do you see that from a Virginia 5-man? It was good to see from him. I don't know where the chip on the shoulder came from all of a sudden. He's been coming off the bench for a few games. So I personally, if he had that spark, you thought maybe it would have came a little sooner. But it was good to see. I was happy with it. And I think the team kind of fed off of it too. It's easy to rally around one of your guys when they're really coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, he was definitely a difference maker. Fresh, I know you have a theory on this, and I love the theory because it's probably a theory that you experienced at some point. When you went from, being a role player to being a really key piece, like at some point you flip the switch and tell people about what you think, because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think Blake, he said, look, I'm either going to play or I'm not going to play. I'm going to get some minutes, but he's probably had some battles down along Rugby Road the way we did. Rumor has he has a new girlfriend. He's just freeing up and he's saying, you know what? Hard hedging is for suckers. Following the rules is for suckers. I can get loose on rugby on on an off night and then come in and play. We didn't see him hard hedging and running around looking to screen. He went to the basketball half, didn't he? Ball comes off. He didn't say, let's get back and let's set this pack line defense. No, I have every right to that ball as the next guy. And he just played the way that I think he can play. And it was a free up and let go moment for him. And he had to be on the court.
Yeah. Shout out Bob Rotella with the trust and let go. Like, Blake was flying around making plays, and a big reason why we staged that comeback. And then, we were right there. It was the total Virginia games, low scoring, and they had to make, it'd be easy to, I think, shut that off and be depressed, but they had to make, what did they make? 3 threes in the last 25 seconds. They had to really perform to get that win. So I'm hoping the guys take away, all right, we had this game won, we let it slip at the end, but maybe they roll into Yum Center, aka JPJ West, and get a win today. I do think this is kind of a trap game for Louisville. Louisville is 6-1 in the ACC. They're in second place. Their early morning game, what time is it there? It's in Louisville, it's 11, right?
No, they're still noon.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, they're Eastern. Yep.
Okay, so still early game. Maybe they're not taking it seriously, and maybe our guys come out. But there are some things, you guys read LRA as much as I do, our listeners do. A lot of things floating around out there. And one that I thought was really interesting I want to talk about today is I think it's the existential question for UVA basketball. Is the pack line outdated, right? The pack line was designed to stop inside play and contest threes. They moved the 3-point line out, and all that's really done now is extend that distance to recover and pressure, essentially leading to more threes. So, does the pack line lead to better 3-point shooting or more 3-point shooting? A defense that's supposed to stop it? Let's discuss. I don't know. I know a lot of it has to do with personnel, but I am coming to the side that I'm not sure it's the defense you can run anymore. Fresh, I'll go to you with this one first.
So a play guard, PLEGARD on Locker Room Access, he brought that to my attention, or maybe you did, but I think he definitely said it.
No, it was definitely someone on forum.
Yeah, it was play guard, my man. And look, what happens in sports, right, with rule changes? Offense adjusts or defense adjusts first. In this case, I believe offense adjusts first, because when we played, you set the offense at the 3-point line. Yeah. Once we had it our sophomore year in high school or whatever, right? That's where you kind of set the perimeter of it. Offensively, it's not that hard to back up and shoot from further once you get stronger and you're in college and all that. So that adjusted, and the pack line doesn't adjust to it, seamlessly. The adjustments that need to be made, in my opinion, you don't hard hedge 40 feet from the basket and have Jay Huff at, ridiculous 7'2", way away from the basket where you can rim protect Blake Buchanan, Anthony Robinson. We can go on and on. But the 3-point shooters are adjusting. So how does everybody else adjust? You got to adjust the pack. You can still play. You can call it pack line, but the pack feature has got to go away. Does that make sense? It's got to be more.
You got to relax how much you pack it in. I think the distance to recover, is just leading to better looks. Right. Whereas it used to lead to contested shots, but now they're just like, they're open. And it's, as you know, Fresh, we had the shorter 3-point line. We would all shoot from like 5-6 feet beyond it. It's not a big difference for the shooters. It's a big difference for the defense.
And the other point, Dave the Wave harps on this one to everybody's chagrin, but you're not defended by 2 hands up on you, right? When you go to shoot it and the guy's on the floor, unless it's some freak athlete that's going to jump, whatever, that never happens. You're not defended that way. So players, I remember we were playing against BYU, Sean Bradley, and I caught it the 3 wide open. He took 2 steps. Now he's the only guy that can reach the 10 feet, right? Nobody else can do that. So just coming out and what's it called? What is it called when you come out on the player?
Oh, you got to you challenge the shot, but you close out. Close out.
Yeah, the closeouts don't make a difference anymore. What guys can shoot, and the focus is on shooting. People are practicing shooting. Closing out doesn't do anything.
So I'm going to go a layer deeper. Do you think it's better to really contest and blow by the guy and let him arguably go for a rebound? Like I do. I think
I think it's personnel, man. I think you got to make a decision, right? If you're going out because it's Grant Hill and you're preventing him from driving, sorry, I'm just throwing names that I know. Then you can close out that way. If it's a guy who's going to let it fly, if you're doing it to Isaac McNeely, for example, you got to fly at it, and you got to make him adjust. Not everybody's great at that one dribble, then pull up afterwards, right? So
That's right.
you got to know your personnel, and it's not a one size fits all, in my opinion. That's where the brains come in coaching.
Agree. All right, we covered defense. Josh, I'm going to come to you on offense. There was a lot in the preseason, with Tony, when Tony was still coach, about how they're going to open it up. I've seen glimpses of it, but I still feel like when we're scoring in the low 50s, that we're not really running we're running different plays to get the same shots, essentially. And then Ron came in, and we've gone back to blocker mover a lot, and it's been okay, but that hasn't translated into winning games. Here's the question: do we need to just score in the 70s, regardless of like what we're running, to actually be competitive in today's game? I think we do, but I want to hear what you say.
No, I mean, I agree with you, especially on the first point of, they're maybe running some different sets, but if the end result is still scoring 52 points and losing a 2-point game, or even if it was 52 points and winning a 2-point game, is anyone really that much happier with it? I mean, it's the same thing that, the people that are complaining, and don't get me wrong, I'm not singling them out because there's a lot to complain about in a season where they're 8-9 and 1-5 in the ACC. But the complaints are the exact same, right? Like, it's still, they're not scoring enough. There's no urgency to get a look in. Maybe there are some different sets, they're doing a little bit more, but it still seems like there's a lot of useless running. Cuts leading to nowhere, not having the next step, okay, once I'm in this spot, what am I going to do with the ball or with this action from here? So no, I agree with you. I think they do need to get out more for sure.
Yeah, the other thing, and I noticed this, Fresh noticed this, and we were texting with Dave about it. The fact that whether it's a make or a miss, that we're initiating the first pass in our offense with like 13 or 14 seconds left on the shot clock is an issue. Like, we get a miss, we've got to explore, we got to touch the paint or whatever and bring it back out and get it going. But there's too many times when we're bringing the ball up really slowly, spinning, getting over, we get over in the 10 seconds, but then we're at the logo and we start initiating. That's a tough spot. Fresh, I know it bothered you. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it does. My biggest complaint is anybody that gets the ball out of the net, the other team makes a shot. All right, it's going to happen a lot in the game, right? You don't play perfect defense. The other team has 0 at the end of the game. So when they make a shot, let's not hang our heads and say, "Oh man, the pack line didn't work. We worked so hard on this in practice." First guy, get the ball out and just find a guard and go. I don't care who takes it out. I don't care who the guard is. You saw last SMU, first basket of the game, SMU. Kofi was under the basket, and so it came out of the basket, and he immediately looked to give the ball to somebody else to take out. Like, that's just a very small example. Ted Jeffries would have been 1 foot out, long throw into Crotty, Corey, me, whatever, Anthony Oliver, Brian, and we go. So the way we play it, and I would love to talk to Ron and Jason about this, the way we play it, it benefits teams that press because it gives them time to actually find guys on makes or even on misses because we're going to go so slowly, right? Just get that quick burst out. Then if you want to slow it down in the half court, that's fine, but not 14 seconds left in the shot clock, to your point.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference maker.
All right, here's a question for Josh. There are games where we are – where we match up well, we're sort of evenly matched. I think I look at SMU, like we were not, massively out talented. But there are games when we are going to be out talented. A game like Duke. The question is, do we roll out and try to play Virginia basketball and pack line and match up man to man, or do we introduce wrinkles because we have to do something different to try to stay with an elite team like that? Are we okay? I guess the question is, are we okay losing by 20 to a much more talented team playing Virginia basketball? Or would you rather see us try some things, whether it be a zone, whether it be running a little, being more opportunistic offensively, and maybe that leads to a 28-point loss. But I'm of the belief that we need to try things. Where do you sit on that?
No, I agree with you completely, especially in games where that I mean, just to be completely honest, it's not really supposed to be competitive. You know, I mean, you look at even today with Louisville, the spread for today's game is 16.5 points. Like, there's absolutely zero reason if we get down 10 or 12 to not try to put a press on, to not just get the ball in and get up the court. Heck, to not let some transition threes fly if you have them. I mean, you can't just sit back and, especially when you're already kind of taking it on the chin like they have been this year, unfortunately, you can't just keep doing it, because all that does is just build up more angst and frustration for everyone, for us, for them, for everybody.
Yeah. And Josh, I'm going to come back to you on one. It's a new topic, but a lot of chatter on LRA and social media around Carla's extension, and the reasons behind it and all that. But here's a question as someone who's pretty closely connected to the program. Why was that not announced? Why did Chris Graham, who basically runs his own paper, he writes just about every article, or his wife, or like one or two other people, why are we having to FOIA request that? Do you have any sense of the reasoning behind that or thoughts on it?
I honestly have no idea on that. Now, you know, when Chris also broke the news about another sports assistant coaches, you know, with their extensions, I was kind of like, okay, well, you know, they're not head guys. They're kind of under the radar. I mean, general casual fans may not even know who assistant coaches are, which is okay. You know, not everybody has to be a complete sports junkie to keep up with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for Carla Williams, at some point I read it in the forum. I'll be honest, I don't have it, you know, to know that this is completely true, but I read somewhere somebody said she'd actually signed this in December
11th.
and they're just now putting it out there. I don't know why the most prominent figure in your athletic department, which is across schools, I mean, it's the person in charge, you know, why you wouldn't have any type of, even if you're not really wanting to celebrate, just a press release saying, hey, this is where we're at, this is what's happening, especially with where they are now with maybe, I mean, you know, she said it herself, the coaching search is ongoing, whether they want to make Ron, you know, full-time instead of interim, or if they want to hire from outside of that. It's been announced to the world, hey, there is a coaching search that is happening. So for them to not announce, hey, we're also stable and the person looking for your job is established is kind of wild to me. I mean, I didn't really understand that.
All right. Really good lead up to something that I've been anticipating for the last 20 minutes. Fresh, you have the floor. I know you want to say some things on Ron. Yeah. So
I'm going to go with it for the rest of the year. They made the decision to make Ron the interim head coach, not Jason Williford. We clawed, we gnashed teeth about that for a couple of weeks as former teammates. We were upset about it, but now Ron's the interim coach. That doesn't help him. That doesn't help the program. It doesn't help the players. It doesn't help recruiting. You know, Chance Mallory's on a visit to Maryland this weekend. He's not going to Maryland. Then he's going to visit Tennessee. He wants to go to the University of Virginia. If you just make Ron the head coach, I said 3 years at the beginning of the season. Now I'm going to say give him 2. This season and next season. Make Ron the head coach. He'll coach differently. He'll coach like it's his team, not Tony Bennett's ghost coaching from the press box, Carla's press box up there, you know, telling secrets or whatever, which is fine. He should be at the games. His son plays on the team, for the love of everything.
Yeah.
I want to make Ron the coach. I don't care. I don't think there's the next guys coming in. It's going to be some magic. And I mean, you know, it's NIL. Right? I'd make Corey Alexander the coach if you want. I don't care. It's NIL, it's players, but we got to have some continuity in some shape, form, or fashion to make some ease this season. And I'm tired of like blaming Ron for playing tame. I have some issues with Ron. I think he talks too much about defense, and you know we wanted defensive stability in when we're up by 5. No, you don't want defensive stability. You want to win the game, but that's a different story. I think Ron would make more of his own decisions if he were the actual head coach. He's not the head coach. He's an interim coach. It's not even interim head coach. He's an interim coach. I don't like any of it. Well,
I think it brings up a good point. And, you know, I'm with you, Fresh. I wanted Jay to get that job. Here's my issue is the guys we really, I think, covet and want either have a huge buyout or they're not going anywhere, right? They're the top 2 or 3 guys. The rest of the guys, and you know, I don't follow this. I don't follow it as closely as maybe some of people on LRA, but I do feel like I should have to know the person's name to get excited about it. I mean, names are being brought up. I'm like, who is that?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
what program is he with? I do think it's a coveted job. I do think now with like the NIL and the momentum, like we can go get someone. The question is, do you punt it down the road for a year, another, 2 years, call it, or do you pay someone's big exit contract?
No.
I put up on forum. I'd love to see someone that no one's ever heard of, someone from like Latvia that used to coach Luka when he was 10 years old, or Serbia, something like that. That would get
What about Coach Milicic? Coach Milicic out of wherever he's coaching, Igor's dad.
That
would
come full circle. That would make LRA really good. All right, we don't have a ton of time. Josh, let's go to Louisville. It struck me that last year Louisville was in a complete death spiral. They were terrible. They were losing all the time. We had Tony Bennett. We were, near the top of the ACC, still figuring things out, but a formidable team. Wow, how the tables have turned. We're in a death spiral, and they're in second place in the ACC right now, only behind Duke, who is undefeated in ACC play. But I looked up who they lost to. They're 6-1. They're 13-5. Here's who they've lost to: Tennessee, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Duke, and Kentucky. So they've lost to real good teams, and they've beaten everybody they're supposed to beat, and they haven't upset. I think all 5 of those teams, by the way, are top 25 teams in the AP. So take us through their team. We've been through them once. They blew our doors off in Charlottesville, 20-point loss. Take us through their personnel. I know they did make a change in their starters recently.
Yes, that's the first big thing to start on. Our fans especially should know, because he honestly lit us up last time we played him. Rain Smith, the sharpshooting guard, is now in the starting lineup. Doing that, they've elected to kind of go smaller. They have sent Noah Waterman to the bench. He was the 6'10" or so guy. He shot some threes too, nowhere near as efficient. He was kind of funny because he wore the odd number. He was like 93 or something like that. It was a number in the 90s, just funny. But anyway, they've started going smaller, and it's worked well for them. They've picked up a couple good wins. Let's see, they beat, I think it was Pittsburgh and Syracuse with the lineup. So they're winning games with it. The other big thing for me, where it all kind of starts with them, is with their point guard, Chucky Hepburn.
Yeah.
Hepburn, we talked about this last time, but he's the guy from Wisconsin, came in to follow with Pat Kelsey, wanting a fresh start there. He is a guy.
Have has been going around the entire east coast of Florida trying to get the hair that Hepburn had. He liked it so much.
So good.
The search hasn't gone well. Let's just put it that way.
It is good hair. I like the color too. It's nice.
Yeah.
But that's a guy though that has just lit UVA up. I mean, he was the lead guard on that Wisconsin team that beat us last year in the Fort Myers tip-off, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a guy that has he's toasted our defense. For as much as we want to talk about the pack line, it didn't matter when Reese Beekman and Ryan Dunn were playing. He still was on us. He's a very good lead guard. From there, they kind of space it out. They've got some fairly athletic wings. Edwards Jr. transferred down. I think he came from JMU. So somebody for the area, familiar guy. And then their big guy that they play, Scott, he is kind of just a athletic kind of glue guy, I guess be the best way to put it. He'll crash the boards. He might get some putbacks here and there. He's not really a focal point, but he's a key piece for them for sure.
I might be mixing games up, but I think he was a little bit of a problem for us inside, just like you're saying, kind of a disruptor and just being around and maybe drawing fouls and stuff. I think I may be confusing it with another game. He
gets a lot of rebounds too. He gets a lot of second chance opportunities for him. He's good for his role, if that's the best way to put it. But I think where they really need to start today is with Hepburn. I think in the last game, especially in the second half, he was able to kind of get into the lane a little bit and just control the game, even if it wasn't him doing the scoring. They had a wing come off the bench. I think his last name's Traore in the last game. And he put up, I want to say 15, and it was 1-3, and all the rest were dunks because the defense, would come up to guard Hepburn, and he'd just slip right in behind and wide open.
All right, so here's a question, because you look at Kelsey. He came in, basically got an entire new team, right? Don't they only have like one returner or something like that, or maybe two, and they don't even play? But he redid the roster. In this day and age, that's a possibility. Fresh, that's directly against kind of what you said regarding Ron. So do you think it helps us more to take the interim off Ron and have him stay for a couple of years? Or do you think, wow, if somebody else comes, they bring a bunch of players through other relationships and we have a whole new team? Like, how does that feel and sit with you?
That's always a big possibility. What everybody doesn't realize about Louisville is they have my second favorite Chili's airport bar in the country.
Okay.
My first favorite is Richmond, which I think is actually Applebee's, but I call it Chili's. And the hired help is off the charts. It's just a great way to unwind. So they take the recruits through there. They spend too much money, but cheating on over snacks, too many pretzels and things like that.
Yeah.
It's always a possibility. What kind of worries me, not in a bad way, but it's kind of the Virginia way, right? We always talk about it. Like, what are the powers that be? You guys talked about Carl getting the 29% increase, and we didn't know about it, which actually maps exactly inflation in the last 4 years, but we won't talk about that right now. So I'm all for it. It's a possibility, and that's the coach. There's one coach we don't talk about who I think would be great at that is Richard Pitino, who's the Lobos coach. It's New Mexico or New Mexico State, and he's the obvious truth from his dad and a friend of mine. So I'd like to see him above all. When you're talking about name recognition, right?
Yeah, I've heard that name.
The name Pitino, boom. The other guys, whatever. Sure, is it doable? I guess. I don't really know. Hats off to those guys that have done it, including Pope at Kentucky, right? But that's Kentucky. Louisville's a big name, man. They say it's the best college arena in the country. They were early to the selling beer at their arena when nobody else could, so that's a huge advantage as well. I'm not sure how players respond to that, so let's see.
Yeah, let's go. All right, thanks guys for joining us at the pregame show. We'll be back halftime. Let's do predictions real quick because they're about to tip. Josh, what do you got?
I think Virginia keeps it closer than the score is saying, and I think IMAC is going to bust out of his slump a little bit today. I'm going to say Louisville wins the game, but Virginia keeps it close. I'm going to go 68-63 Louisville.
And your player of the game's Isaac for us?
Player of the game? Yeah, I'll go Isaac. That's fine. Yeah.
All right. I just 60-55 came to my head right away when you asked the question, so I'm just going to go with my first instinct. Virginia, by the way, I think we sneak them. I think Isaac and I think Rhodey play really well today.
All right, so you picking Rhodey or Isaac? Pick Rhodey because he picked Isaac.
I'll pick Rhodey. I'll take Rhodey as player of the game. And don't forget, last year at Louisville, I remember this very well, when Rhodey was kind of having his slide, his death nail in the coffin of when his worst game was at Louisville. He missed that. Remember, he missed the wide open lefty layup and just got in his head, and he kind of had. So I think he wants to make this a different trip into the 16th largest city by population in the United States. Little sneaky fact.
All right, I'm gonna side with Fresh on this. I think we win this game. I think we're gonna take a lot out of the SMU game in terms of we lost the game, but some good things happen. I'm gonna go UVA 55-53, and Blake realized he's really good when he's active, so I'll go Blake on that one. But come back at half, join us. I'm Fresh. I'm Hav. That's Fresh. That's Josh. We'll see you guys at the half. Go Hoos.
What's the game on, Josh?
ESPN2.
Go Hoos.